Go ahead and sign in.
You need a pen?
Mom says I'm so contagious.
Skip the chaos and the germs. Log in to waitfromhome.com. See wait times at over 15 UMC clinics. And when it's time to come in, we'll call or text. Skip the wait. Waitfromhome.com.
Welcome to the Red Raiders postgame report, brought to you by UMC Health Systems. I'm Don Williams alongside Nick Talbot, and we are back in today after the Red Raiders knock off Sam Houston State 59-45. It was the season opener for both teams out at Jones Stadium. And one question that was answered by the Red Raiders early, Nick, was the quarterback. A lot of speculation about would it be Patrick Mahomes, would it be Davis Webb? We thought it would be Patrick Mahomes. Sure enough, it turned out to be, and he had a good first day.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes gave us exactly what we thought we were going to get from him. He was 33 of 53 passing, 425 yards, 4 touchdowns. But where he really brings to the Red Raiders, and what we saw over the last 3 games last year, and the first game, especially the first half this year, is really the ability to make plays. I think that was most evident when he was rolling out of the pocket and he found Ian Sadler for a short 8-yard touchdown pass. I think it took like an hour to take place, but how many times he had to roll out and escape the coverage and get it done. But that's what Patrick Mahomes has shown he has the ability to do, and that's why I think ultimately that Cliff Kingsbury chose him for the Red Raiders quarterback position over Davis Webb, is because he has that little bit of it factor. Cliff talked a little bit about that on his radio show before the game today when he announced that he was going to be the starting quarterback, that Mahomes just has the it factor, and he really makes this Red Raiders offense really go on a lot of times. They had the problems in the second half. They only scored 17 points, but when you score 45 in the first half, or 42 in the first half, excuse me, you really don't have to score that many points in the second half to win a game, although with this defense, that might be a good, better question.
Yeah, they're going to have to score a lot of points. And again, that's the question I had about this team going into the year. I thought they were about a 6-16. The reason why was, if folks asked me, I said, well, I see this team having to win a lot of games 49-45. And if you're winning games 49-45, that's an awful lot of pressure to put on your offense, and it's an awful lot of pressure for your defense to constantly be in having to make stops when they're not. When they don't have a lot of those stops under their belt to build a lot of confidence. We saw it was our first chance to see David Gibbs' defense today in the first half. I have to say it was pretty depressing when you look up there and the scoreboard says 35-31 just before halftime, and the defense has not produced any takeaways. That's what David Gibbs' reputation is for. That's the reason that Cliff Kingsbury brought him to Lubbock, is because those 73 turnovers that his teams at Houston got the last 2 years. But just when you were starting to wonder, the second half, those takeaways started to come. Red Raiders wound up with 4 of them. First one was J.J. Gaines picks off a pass, returns it for a touchdown. You also had an interception by Thierry Guima that kept Sam Houston State out of the end zone. Then you had 2 fumble recoveries as well. One, a play where Ja'Shawn Johnson puts a helmet right on the ball, it pops out. Mike Mitchell's there to get it. And then the other, Tevin Madison has a guy wrapped up, making the tackle, and then you see him punch the ball out. And J.J. Gaines is there to recover that one also. So I took a couple of things from that. One is David Gibbs has said for about 6 months now, he said, I will call the defense to make it easier for those defensive backs, because some coordinators don't realize how tough it is on those guys in the back end, how much pressure it is to maintain coverage for 3, 4, 5 seconds. He said, I'll make it easier for the defensive backs. And the thing you noticed today, all those turnovers we just talked about, the defensive backs were involved. And then the other thing that I took from what David Gibbs has talked about this spring and summer is, so much discussion, so much feedback that we've heard from players is how they work on stripping the football, trying to cause fumbles and create turnovers. And I thought the first time that we really saw an example of that and to see it pay off was when Madison punched that ball out and J.J. Gaines was there to get the recovery. So It's kind of it was a very much a hit and miss day for the defense. Tackling was still a big issue. They gave up a ton of yards, 671. And I don't care. I know Sam Houston State, we talked about this all week. Sam Houston State is one of the best teams in the FCS. They have nearly all their starters back. They have a bunch of transfers, guys who played in the Big 12. We saw some players who were kind of familiar names like Corey Avery from Kansas and Darius Brown, who had played at TCU, and Derek Edwards, who had played at Texas Tech. All that aside, this is still an FCS team, and you shouldn't be giving up 45 points and close to 700 yards. If you're giving up that much to Sam Houston State, what's going to happen 2 weeks down the road when you're playing Arkansas, a team with a massive offensive line and a great running attack? So while there were some positives, there's still some worries here. And one of the other things is the defense played today without Pete Robertson, Big 12 returning sacks leader. He was, it appears, suspended for today's game. He was on the sideline in jersey, no pads, shorts, did not play. They need him back. Cliff Kingsbury didn't say when that might happen.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big loss if he can't play going forward. But the one thing Kingsbury stressed, you talked about everything kind of being a mixed bag today. It didn't seem like a mixed bag at the press conference when Kingsbury was talking. He said the team just lacked killer instinct. It was almost all negative. There wasn't a lot of rah-rah from Kingsbury, which is kind of what we were used to seeing last year.
Yeah, and even from the players themselves, I mean, that post-game interview session, you would have thought, if you had just dropped in and hadn't seen the game, you would have thought it was a loss.
Absolutely. Brandon Jackson had to make a post-game speech about, them not playing up to what they thought they could be. And, Kingsbury really stressed that they didn't have a killer instinct. And it really showed on the offense more than the defense, I thought, in the second half. Obviously, it showed the first half for the defense. But for that second half offense was just lackadaisical, for lack of a better word. They really didn't push the ball downfield. They didn't really do anything. They just kind of rested on their laurels. And I think that's what Kingsbury saw. They had 17 points in the third quarter, but then they came out in the fourth quarter and didn't even score.
Yeah, and I kind of relied on the defense to carry them. They did, turnovers.
They did, which is a nice change of pace for Texas Tech athletics, and Texas Tech's football program. But I think they need to see better things, more consistency all the way through. If they're going to be in these shootouts, they're going to have to score 60 to beat Baylor. They're going to have to score in every quarter to get it done.
That's going to wrap it up for the Saturday here on the Red Raiders post-game report, brought to you by UMC Health Systems. We have all sorts of coverage, though, for you online at redraiders.com and lubbocksonline.com. Columns by both myself and by Nick. Game coverage by Daniel Pauling, sidebars, and three things that we're talking about by Krista Pirtle. A notebook, you name it, we got it. All sorts of great photography as well by Mark over there. So that's going to wrap it up for this evening, but keep checking back to redraiders.com for more coverage throughout the day and throughout the week and all season.